So we often do these local advisory council meetings in person, but this year that was not really an option. So we're doing them all virtual all this week. So we've got 90 over the course of the week. It's been a little bit wild. And the intent is to just update you on where students are locally and what's going on and different for this coming year for the class of 2022, as those applications are already rolling in. We invited all of our local advisory members, but in addition to that, because we're doing them virtually, invited all of our external stakeholders. So we've got mentors, post-secondary partners. I know some of you guys serve as multiple pieces of that puzzle. So thank you again for coming this morning. I'll start by giving you guys a little background that you probably already know about tnAchieves, but we are a private 501c3 that partners with the state to facilitate Tennessee Promise in 90 of the 95 counties across the state. So we started in 2008 in just Knox County and have since obviously expanded with the expansion of Tennessee Promise. So I've served over 440,000 students and worked with 71,000 volunteers since we started in 2008. You'll see there are some counties in gray on this map, and those are the ones that are served by another partnering organization called the Ayers Foundation, who will be expanding this coming year, but we will continue to work with students that are in college from our counties in the 90 that we serve. So the main components for tnAchieves, there are 5, 3 of which have been with us since the beginning. The first of which is the one that is most well known. So our Last Dollar Scholarship that allows any high school senior the opportunity to attend post-secondary free of tuition and fees. We were the first state to pass it. Many other communities and states are looking at doing the same because it really is changing the culture in the state and making everybody aware that college is an option. The volunteer mentors, so the people that we recruit locally to work with high school seniors in their community through the college access process. So more trying to get students from high school to college and work through that process with 5 to 10 students from the high school of their choice. Community service is a really big piece of Tennessee Promise. The chairman of our board was a Boy Scout, and this was super important to him as we expanded. And we're super proud that over 3 million hours have been completed by tnAchieves students. We like to say we're the biggest community service organization in the state. We have no way to verify that, but we really are going to say it until somebody tells us otherwise. But really asking the students to give back 8 hours of community service prior to every semester they receive funding. So trying to create a culture of giving back to the community that's giving to them. We have summer programs. So we have a summer bridge program and a summer institute program. Our summer bridge program is offered at all 13 community colleges across the state, and it is intended to help students start college more academically and socially prepared. So the majority of our students do need learning support in at least one subject, meaning they don't test into college level classes. So this is a 3-week boot camp that allows students to come in and get instruction in reading and writing and math. And then at the end of that 3 weeks, they have the opportunity to test out of learning support classes so that they start in college level classes their first fall. We've been doing that since 2012. 89% of the students who participate improve or test out of their required remediation. So it's been a really successful program. Offered it online for the first time this summer, so we learned a lot there, but it's a good opportunity for people who maybe have transportation issues or work requirements in the summer that they're able to also participate. The Summer Institute is currently only in Memphis. It's our most high-risk community, but we're looking at expanding that. It's a 10-week, more hands-on summer program where students take 6 college courses, 3 of which are remediation and 3 are actual college classes where they earn college credit. So 100% of the students that participate in that program start college with 9 college credit hours in the fall after their high school career. So it's been really successful, a lot smaller, only 29 people participated this summer. It's hard to convince students to give up 10 weeks of their summer to do it, but once they do, it's proven to be really successful. And then the final component is our complete coaching model. So we have paid full-time staff members that start to work with our most at-risk students once they begin college. So they reach out to those students at least once a month to make sure that they're on track and don't have any challenges that they're facing or questions about how to do well as a college student. It could be related directly to their reading class, or it could be completely unrelated to class and more about transportation or family issues that are coming up. Whatever challenges the students are seeing, they have a coach to work with them through that problem. And then we believe highly in the power of communication. tnAchieves sends 10 million emails and 6 million text messages a year. So we are ensuring that students, mentors, parents, everyone who we communicate with is well aware of what they should be doing at any step in the process. So we've already spoken a little bit about the reach of tnAchieves. We serve 90 counties. In those counties, we have over 600 high schools. 74 of our counties are considered rural counties, and 35 are at risk or distressed. There are 67 post-secondary institutions that we work with each year that are Tennessee Promise eligible. And our students, for the majority of them, go to community college. So almost 80% of them are at a community college. And then we've got 11% that start at a TCAT, Tennessee College of Applied Technology, and 10% go to one of the eligible four-year institutions. When we look at the 60,000 students that apply to our program annually, we look at a lot of different measurements. The first being how many of our high school seniors are applying to Tennessee Promise. So when we talk with high school counselors, we often encourage them to have every student apply. We know every student is not going to go to a Tennessee Promise institution, but the communication that we give them regarding FAFSA and applying to college can relate to any college that they want to attend. And it's a really great backup program for any student. So we encourage counselors to try to get all students to apply. 89% of high school seniors do end up applying. So we have that over 60,000 applicants each year. 78% of first-time full-time freshmen at community colleges are tnAchieves students. And then 86% of the students who graduate from community colleges each year are tnAchieves students. 56% of our students, so over half of our students, are eligible for a federal Pell Grant. That's a need-based funding determined from a student's FAFSA free application for federal student aid. So over half of our students are eligible for that funding, meaning they're from a lower income family. 40% of our students are first generation college students. So that would mean they're the first in their families to get a post-secondary credential. And then 51% of our students are majoring in health sciences or STEM related fields. Another question we get often is the cost of operating this program. So annually we spend a little over $30 million on the tuition and fees portion, so the scholarship piece. And then tnAchieves' annual operating budget is $2.5 million to facilitate the program, to offer those summer programs, all the other coaching programming I was talking about. So we have a staff of 27 across the state working with our students. The benchmarks that we look at for on the college access side are FAFSA file rate and community service. So across the state, our statewide average for FAFSA filing is 86%. Meigs County is always killing our FAFSA filing rate, 91%. So I feel like,
yay, Carmen. Woohoo.
I know, all due to Carmen helping helping us with getting all those FAFSAs filed. So
Got a shout out though to Carrie Fitch. She does a great job with that too. So it's not just me.
Good team.
yeah, good team here in Meigs County for sure. I will say a lot of states think over 50% is good. So 91% is kind of unheard of in a lot of communities. Tennessee is always leading the country in at least the top 5, but 91% for Meigs County you guys are always top flyers in our FAFSA filing. And then we have over 3.3 million hours of community service that have been completed since we started. 5,700 of those have been completed by Meigs County students. So hoping that we are creating a culture of giving back. 96% of our students say they enjoy their community service. So hopefully they will continue to do it throughout their lives and not just as a Tennessee Promise requirement. College going rate really took a big hit with the pandemic. That's nationwide, but we went from about 62% statewide in 2019 to down to under 57%. So really large drop in the college going rate in Meigs County. We didn't see as significant as a drop, but still below the state average for students that go to college directly after high school. So it went from 50% in 2019 to almost 48%. So a lot smaller of a drop, but still a little bit of a drop from the pandemic. What we're hearing, and Carmen, you probably know better than I, is that many more students with all the virtual options and just pandemic in general are getting full-time jobs and just not really thinking that post-secondary is as important. So that's kind of the message we're trying to work with, that getting a post-secondary credential is still super important, actually more important now than ever.
We have found that a lot of our students, even in high school, are supporting their families also during this time. So we had a lot more students who worked almost full-time jobs last year and chose the virtual option because they could do it in their own time.
Yeah.
And that was very detrimental to high school success. And I know that was even a larger number at the post-secondary level. So that is something that has really been a struggle, because when they tell us that's what they've got to do, it's hard to say, but you need to go to college instead.
I know.
So,
like you have other issues. You need them to attend their high school classes.
Yes, yes.
Let alone talking to them about going to college. So that's totally understandable.
I know that we have seen since this pandemic a shift in those that even thought they wanted to go to 4-year institutions. We're really glad that they had followed through in the first semester with Tennessee Promise and Tennessee Achieves things, because they had to use their backup plan of going to the community college, because financially, due to jobs and things like that, they were not able to go to that 4-year option straight out of high school. So I know that some of our 4-year bound students at the very end ended up at a community college to start with, and they were really glad they had this as an option.
That option, yeah, that's really great. I'm glad that
Carmen, we will take them with open arms.
Absolutely. It's I was glad that, at the beginning of the year, I was telling them we are going to basically force your child to do this, but it's for your child's own good to have at least as a backup plan. So if nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm glad, and hopefully they will continue. All right, do you guys still have a virtual option this year?
The state pulled that as an option unless you create an entire virtual school. And so, and it has to have its own school number, and you have to have school administration for that and everything. So we did not, we have not provided that as a virtual school like we had last year.
Mm-hmm. Well, what we're seeing so far in enrollment is that it's likely not going to go back up to where we were in 2019, probably stay about the same as 2020 this year, but hopefully in the future we'll go up. Maybe class of 2022 will bring us back up to that 62%. We'll see. Our outcomes, the biggest outcomes we measure are retention and graduation rates. So across the state, 67% of Tennessee Achieves students are retaining for their second year of college, which doesn't sound great. We still have a lot of work to do. We still have 33% that we need to get to come back. But when you compare it to state averages, 53%. So the programs and things we're putting in place are working, 14% higher than the state averages, but still, like I said, we obviously still have some work to do. And the 6-year graduation rates are 51% for our students. So just over half of our students are completing a post-secondary credential in 6 years, compared to the statewide average for community college first-time full-time freshmen of 35%. So when we dig into some of the programs we offer, we're seeing that they're working. And so always looking at ways to expand. So for students who participate in the summer programs, they are retaining at 34% higher than their peers. For students who are in the complete coaching program, they're retaining at 23% higher than their peers. And then Knox Promise is our newest program that is privately funded in Knox County. It's very similar to our complete coaching model that we do across the state, but that is only for at-risk students versus Knox Promise. In Knox County, every student is coached regardless of their background. And we're also able to offer these emergency grants. So funding for things like transportation, extra book scholarships, things that students need once they're in college to be able to be successful college students. So we've seen a 42% increase in retention in Knox County because of this program. Actually, just this week started a pilot with those emergency grants across the state that the legislation passed to do a pilot study. It's a much smaller pot of funding, but it's a good way for us to get in touch with more students across the state and offer these scholarships. So we'll see if that continues to make an impact outside of just Knox County. Student progress in Meigs County. So about 127 applicants each year, 30-ish of which go to a Tennessee Promise institution. So really killing it in the retention and graduation rate, 76% versus our 67% statewide. So 76% of those 30 return back for their second year. If I could say that across the state, that would be really great. And then 3-year graduation rate is 50%. If you'll remember from the previous slide, our 6-year graduation rate for students with tnAchieves is 51%. So within half the time, Meigs County students are graduating at almost the same rate. So really doing great with the students that we do get to go to college. So college going rate is a little under the average, but for those who do, they're successful once they get there. So mentors, do all of you guys serve as mentors already, or have you? Yeah, I know some of you do. But our mentors we ask mentors to serve 12 hours annually. This year, we're doing a little bit different than we did last year, and of course different than the prior year. So last year we did completely virtual. And invested in a platform that mentors can work with their students to encourage them, be a resource and a task manager, make sure that they're aware of all the things going on and the deadlines that they need to meet to maintain their scholarship. So we will still have that virtual option that we had last year, but we are also doing some in-person options. So some open houses at the colleges, and ways for mentors and students to hopefully get together in person to build that relationship if they feel like that's important. So our mentoring in 2022 is a little different than it's been in the past, and hopefully providing different ways for mentors and students to work together. We are already recruiting for the class of 2022. You can go to tnAchieves.org to apply if you haven't already. We need 19 mentors in Meigs County to work with the expected number of applicants that we get. For new mentors, they just complete an application online and do a 1-hour training virtually. for returning mentors. You either email someone at tnAchieves and let us know you want to come back, or do the returning mentor. And then we'll just do a quick 30-minute training for our returning mentors to tell them about the differences for the class of 2022. And every time that we do these, we are always asked for tangible next steps. So we've got 3. The first is becoming a mentor that we already talked about. The second is connecting us with people in your community. So I always say there's not a Rotary Club in the state of Tennessee we haven't been to multiple times. So we will always come to any community organization, any business, I know we always go to the post-secondary institutions, but you guys are the ones that know the organizations and groups in your community that might be interested in hearing our story and hearing more about the opportunity to mentor. So if you are aware of any of those opportunities, please email mentors@tnachieves.org. And then the final thing is tell a friend about Tennessee Promise. So I think most families know about Tennessee Promise, but for those who maybe don't, now is the time for students to apply. The application for class of 2022 is open now. And if students don't apply in their high school senior year, they lose the opportunity for Tennessee Promise moving forward. So it's really important that they apply now if they haven't already. But that is all of the data we have for you guys today, but we are super data driven, as you can see, and we can always pull things deeper or do anything that you guys would think would be helpful. Happy to answer questions now if you guys have any, but that's my contact information. If you think of anything else you want to ask us moving forward. Anything that is standing out to you guys today or questions you have?
Do you have any data that compares our students who took dual enrollment classes in high school versus those that did not, and their retention rates that would fall into this? Do you all
No, because I don't know who does dual enrollment. We are working with the K-12 Department of Ed to get that, but we don't have it now. But if you have a list of people who did dual enrollment, I could easily compare those.
Okay.
Really interesting.
Okay. I know that we partner with Cleveland State, and I always am looking for ways to really continue to encourage our kids to participate in
Sign up.
enrollment
Yeah.
options. And I feel like at one time, many years ago, the state did give us a report of attendance rates for our dual enrollment versus non-dual enrollment students. So I thought this would be another piece of data that we could use in that presentation to parents to encourage more kids to do the dual
Sign
enrollment.
up.
So
Yeah. You know, there might be like a statewide number. I bet there is. I could look for it. But as far as breaking down by like actual students in Meigs County, how they do versus those who didn't do dual enrollment, I know they don't break it down by county, but I would be happy to do that. If you have a list of students who did it last year or something, I'm happy to look at that. That would be interesting.
are you going to share this presentation?
Yes, so the presentation and the recording of this webinar will be on our website, and we'll send out a follow-up email to everyone, probably, I guess, next week with all of the information on how to get it. So yeah, it'll definitely be available. Thank you guys for coming this morning and spending some time with me. It was good to see everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.